He has been great. This
We'd like to welcome back to Laurel former council member Gayle Snyder. She is a proud grandmother, and we pinned her down so that we could have her tell her story about someone very special, near and dear to her heart. So I'm going to turn to Miss Gayle over here. Thank you so much for coming on, taking time out of your retirement, your busy schedule.
Well, thank you, Corrine. I'm back to work, though, so retirement didn't last.
You've got a lot going on in your life, but there's one very special point that why we brought you on. You have a grandson.
Yes. Kyle is Kyle Frederick. It's named after my husband, and he is the second of our 8 grandchildren.
And let's start off with the most recent news. We heard he's kind of made a very special place for himself. Why don't you explain to our viewers?
Kyle is heading to the Olympics.
Oh.
And about 2 weeks ago, we traveled, no, I'm sorry, it was last weekend, we traveled to Iowa to the Olympic trials. And Kyle started wrestling when he was 7 years old, and he wrestled on his high school team. And we went to the Olympic trials last weekend. He, because he is the world champion, which that happened in 2015. He was the youngest to win that. He only had to wrestle in the finals, and he had to win 2 out of 3. So he wrestled against the 2013 gold medalist, and he won. And so now he is headed to Rio, as we all are.
And when are the Olympics this year?
The middle of August. Kyle will wrestle towards the end of the Olympics, so it'll probably be around the 28th, around that part.
All right, so mark your calendars right now, people. Keep an eye out around the end of August. One of our own locals will be there, okay? Now, let's start. We gave the great piece of news, but he has really been doing this, as you said, since he was 7-year-old.
Yes.
So why don't we start from the beginning now and work our way up to where he became an Olympic?
Okay. His parents, or his father, Kyle was interested in wrestling. My husband was a European champion. Oh. And he, because his father was stationed in the military, he went to school over in Augsburg, Germany, and he wrestled all through high school and became a European champion. So he always talked about it to the kids, but they did other things. You know, they played football, they played baseball, but Kyle took an interest in wrestling, and he was about 5 when he started. So by the time he was 7, his father had started taking him to camps and enrolling him in different things. So every weekend, from Thanksgiving to Easter, it seems like they were gone somewhere.
It was booked.
It was
solid.
Booked.
Now, you told me a little story prior to us sitting down in front of the cameras. We have someone right here who helped encourage Kyle and showed him some moves. Is that correct?
That is very true. During my tenure as a city councilman, Mayor Moe would see Kyle around town and at my house, and he knew that Kyle wrestled. And since Mayor Moe was a wrestler in high school, he kind of took an interest in him. So whenever he would see Kyle, he would talk to him about it and everything, and he'd want to show him a move and everything, you know. So it was kind of a joke between them, you know,
right,
every time they would see each other.
Let me also offer congratulations to Kyle Snyder. I keep telling Gayle he owes me. I was the first one that put him in a bear hug and made him get out of it. So look where he's gone today. And he got out pretty easy, I might add.
Now, you were saying that he had an interest in this as he was younger. All his weekends were booked from Thanksgiving to Easter. When did he decide he really wanted to take this as a career athlete?
Well, when he was in high school, he went to Our Lady of Good Counsel over in Olney, and he ended up with his record there as, I want to make sure I say this right, because it's kind of hard to believe, but here it is. He had a 179-0 run during his first 3 years of high school.
Oh, my goodness.
So because of that, and because he was doing so well, and he had been winning so many tournaments and championships, he spent his senior year, he was invited to go out to Colorado to the Olympic Training Center.
Oh, nice.
So he was 17 years old and went out there and spent his senior year of high school there and trained at the Olympic Training Center. And I think that was, you know, I was really proud of him, you know, to leave home like that, like I say, at 17. And he was a little homesick, but this was something that he really, really wanted to do. And that's what he did. And so when he came out of there, he was, you know, of course, had many offers all over the United States for colleges.
I can only imagine.
Yes, and so he visited different schools, but Ohio State was the school he wanted. And they're a big wrestling school. And so that's where he went when he graduated from high school. And his career has just, you know, gotten better and better.
So from Ohio, I really started following this when we heard that he was running, I think it was NCAA wrestling?
Yes. Right now he's a sophomore at Ohio State.
Okay, geez.
And he, during the past year, he became the youngest world champion. That was out in Las Vegas in September 2015. And since then, he won the Big Ten tournament, and then we went to New York in March, and he won the NCAAs. So that was like 2 weeks before the Olympic trials. So it's been a whirlwind lately.
It seems like it was just meant to be.
Yeah.
He just sets these goals and
Yes,
just
he
kept
does.
meeting them.
He does. He really does.
When you look at pictures of him too, he is a big young man. I would be scared to face him across the mat. I'll tell you that right now.
Right. Well, in last year when he was a freshman at Ohio State, one of his goals was to be a 4-time NCAA champion. So he lost in the finals.
Okay.
And he was devastated. And because if your goal is to be a 4-time champion and you lose the first year, that goal is gone.
Right.
But he told me that he was never going to let that happen again.
He buckled down and he trained.
Exactly.
Trained hard.
And we are absolutely convinced that it was nerves. You know, he lost because he was just nervous and he didn't have the confidence, you know, like, I mean, you know, he's a freshman in
Right.
college. So since then, he has just, you know, worked and worked and worked, and he's meeting every goal so far.
I mean, even though he wasn't a loser, I mean, for a freshman to get where he got, that's amazing in itself.
Exactly. Exactly.
And he got the experience that he needed so that when he went back this year, look what happened.
Yes.
He is now the champion.
Absolutely, yep.
So for people that might not know wrestling very well, what is the basic principle of it, of the game for the athlete?
To win.
Right. How would he? I mean, I know there's the terms like pin,
Right.
pin to the mat. So what happens?
He usually, and I'm not the best person to explain this because I'm just watching, but he usually wins. There's a term, and I want to say it's a tech fall, where you have so many points ahead of your opponent that's, you know, and that's usually how he does win. And, you know, of course, he does pin, you know, but the type of wrestling, he wrestles two different kinds. He's a freestyle wrestler, and he wrestles Greco.
Oh, okay.
In the Olympics, I think he is going to wrestle freestyle.
Freestyle, okay.
Now, a good weight for him that he's comfortable with is around 197.
Okay.
But because of you know, how strong he has gotten and everything, it's kind of hard for him to keep at that weight. So they have moved him up to heavyweight, which he is a very light heavyweight.
Okay.
For example, at the NCAAs, his opponent was about 40 pounds heavier than him and about, you know, 4 to 6 inches taller.
Right.
But he does okay in it.
You have to be quick. There's a lot of quick movements and techniques.
Yes, absolutely.
And mental as well.
And he's very good on his feet.
Good.
And I'll hear when we listen to or watch, you know, later, you know, we can hear the commentators saying how good he is on his feet and how quick he is, and they're such strong points for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What type of regimen do you know that Kyle has to get where he is today? What did he have to do? I mean...
Well, he's been in training hard. You know, he trained a lot when he was in high school, but now it's a whole different ball game. And that Olympic Training Center has a training facility at Ohio State. So his classes, I think he takes all online.
Okay.
And because most of his time, you know, during the day, I think is at this training facility. So he'll take his classes, you know, in the evening, you know.
So he basically will do weights and
yeah.
stamina training
Yes.
and all of that.
Yeah. You can see, if he's home, you can see him running all over the neighborhood.
Right.
You know, his father has set up a training facility in their garage, and they have wrestling mats down. And
Like you said, this has pretty much become a full-time job.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Good for them. Now, we've been talking about this, but we found some video online, so why don't we go ahead and watch Kyle in action? Take a look, everyone.
Was planning on redshirting this season to train for Rio in the Olympics, but they removed the red shirt from him. He's wrestled 10 collegiate matches this season, and he has been great. This was the matchup that everybody was waiting for. They've trained together, they've sparred together at the Olympic Training Center. Now they face each other for a national championship.
Gayle Snyder still holds criteria. I second.
That just shows how Kyle is where he is today. Some excellent footage.
Thanks.
A lot of intense,
Yes.
intense,
Oh,
definitely.
absolutely.
I can imagine
Absolutely.
you probably are hoarse by the time one of
Yes.
those matches is over with.
Yes, and you know, it's amazing to me how when he has a win like that, when he comes off of the mat, they want to immediately interview him. And you know, be watching it, and he's still trying to catch his breath,
Right.
perspiration's pouring off of him,
Right.
and but that's just part of it.
Yeah. Now, is there anything else that you'd like to mention about Kyle and what you've seen, what you've experienced with what he's gone through to get to where he is today?
Not only has he been so diligent, and the way his training is and how he is with that, but the thing that I am most proud of is two things. I can never get over how he conducts himself in these interviews, and he's talked to some high-level people, and he's just great the way he speaks. He always talks very highly of his opponents.
Good.
He has just as much respect for them, and the other thing is he's still just a normal kid. He really is, and you never see him without a smile on his face, except that one loss.
Right.
And he's just a regular kid. He really is.
Well, you have every right to have these bragging rights. You are, and he's become such an accomplished young man. You are just so very lucky and blessed to be able to, and for me to be able to watch this on Facebook and see this has progressed. I was just amazed.
Well, I hope I don't bore people with it, but, I have friends that wrestled, and they have interest, and I just, like people to, share in our happiness,
Right.
and we're just very proud of him. He has, my other son has two little boys. The youngest one is 4, and the next one is 7, and they wrestle. And when Kyle comes home, he's down on the floor with them, and it's just, wrestling is everywhere.
Kyle is inspiring the next generation, which is fantastic.
When we were in Iowa, we went out to eat, and there was about a line of about 15 young kids, came up to him and wanted his autograph. Could he have their picture taken with him? And, he loves doing that. So,
well, again, thank you for coming on. We loved hearing the story. And thank to the viewers for tuning in. I'm sure you have kids out there that are going to want to get out and start wrestling after you've seen and heard this story. So be sure to follow the Olympics in Brazil. They're going to be coming up, like she said. Kyle will be around the end of August, so stay tuned and watch for his name. And why not, if you see this story, this is a great story. Look at all our other great stories on our Laurel TV YouTube channel. And if you have a story idea, you can call us on our tip line at 240-294-1307. Until next time, turn your power on.